Hey, it's Kevin. Thanks for stopping by another No BS social media chat. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about folks wanting to take time away from their social media. And the word time just kind of always resonates in my head, in and around my head a lot. Because in social media, as in life, time is our biggest enemy. And time is our biggest enemy on two fronts with social media. Number one, the time you put in is not necessarily reflective of what you get out of it. That's the frustrating part with social media. You think if you put in X amount of hours, you're going to get X amount of response to it, and that doesn't always work. That's with any type of marketing. You really have to work on figuring out what works and then focus more of your activities on that to get it to all work out. But secondly, wanting to take time away, the time then taking it away from other activities. Time is almost this double, or can you have I know you can have a double-edged sword, but can you have a triple-edged sword? I don't think you can. But I think with time, and time could have been just the title of today's post and the focus on thinking about time, because it takes time to do social media. It takes time for social media to happen. But, and here's the big triple edge of the sword, if you don't start now, that time goes away. If you don't start your social media activities today, yesterday, the day before, that is time in our life, time in your life, time in the ethos that you can't get back. And I don't want to say history plays into everything, but when you're looking at Google, the longer a website has been up and been active, not the amount of people who've come to visit it, it's easier to be visible. As I tell some of my clients all the time, as much as MySpace isn't as important anymore, if you go do a Google search on yourself and you have a MySpace page, the MySpace page is usually up there pretty high. Now, you may not have visited that MySpace page in months, let alone in years, since the new MySpace came about, or even before then. But because MySpace has been around so long, because at one time MySpace got so much traffic, MySpace still ranks up very highly in social media. So if you're going to have a MySpace page, at least do some stuff with it, because it's very visible, because people can see it. The hard part is if you don't jump on something, and I don't want to say early, because it's all about a matter of time. I mean, the people who jumped on Twitter in 2006, 2007 may not necessarily be better off than the people who jumped on in 2008, 2009, because there wasn't a lot of critical mass then. You don't necessarily have to be an early adopter, much like Facebook. People who were able to sign up for Facebook in college when it was strictly just limited to college students aren't necessarily better off than, anybody who could sign up after the fact. A lot of that has to do with critical mass, with the amount of people, the amount of eyeballs, the amount of interactions that are potentially possible. So now that Facebook is so popular, it's important to actively stay involved in Facebook. Again, you don't have to do it a lot. It doesn't have to be your favorite place, but you have to at least make sure to put in the time and effort, because there are so many potential eyeballs there. And because people use Facebook, people use YouTube as search engines now. If you want to find music online, you go to YouTube, because more than likely there's going to be a video, or there's going to be an audio video, there's going to be something there. If you're searching for people and you can't find them in a Google search, what's the first thing you do? You go to Facebook and see if you can find their profile there. So think about time. About the time not only you waste, but the time you delay. There's a new social media site called Ello. It's by invitation only right now. I got in, I wouldn't say fairly early. I don't even know how early is fairly early. I haven't found a lot of use for it yet. But I go back and I explore and I read a lot about it, because when the critical mass, if the critical mass hits, I want to make sure I'm there in the middle of it. And you may want to do the same. If you want an Ello invite, let me know. My email's coming up here at the end of the show. But it's not about being first. It's about utilizing it when it hits, when it pops. The earlier people were involved in Twitter, the probably more active they are now in Twitter because they got it earlier, and they're benefiting from it. You don't have to have 60, 70,000. I think I'm over 2,000 friends or followers on Twitter now, and the Intensity Media page is probably 7,900, 7,700, something like that. But it's about the interactions. I spend more time worrying about the interactions than I do about the physical numbers, and we talk about that all the time. We talked about that, in quantity versus quality, one of our video series much earlier on. So keep time in the back of your head. Not only just the time you focus, the time of your day you focus on social media, the time you take away from social media, but the fact is that time is fleeting for all of us. The clock is ticking each and every day, and you never get that time back. The longer you've been doing it, the quicker you'll be, and at the top of the heap you might be. It's kind of tough to stomach sometimes, and it's kind of frustrating, and it's going to get that way, but you'll be fine. See you next week. Another No BS social media update. NoBSSocial.com. That's where you find all the videos. You can also find them on YouTube. Our username there, No BS Social. See you next week.